the President Obama had a meeting with the bankers.
Right.
And, he's trying to look like he's being aggressive in trying to make the banks understand that the bailout monies were given to them because their liability, their responsibility is to lend them out, to encourage lending and economic recovery. Well, the big three, from what I understand, Jon Stewart, is saying they didn't even bother to show up. The president of Goldman Sachs and
well, they had some excuse, yeah.
Yeah, well, they couldn't make it. Well, they have private jets. I mean, it's so. I mean, don't you think that if you're going to meet the president of the United States, the ordinary person, you don't just, show up and say, "Hey, Brian, I'm going to be late," or "I'm sorry, I got stranded." You would have gone to Washington, D.C. the day before. You have your secretary have all the limos and everything all, scheduled. I mean, that's kind of flimsy. That's not a very respectful way to treat a president, don't you think?
Yes. Well, I'm not a big government interventionist, as you well know, but I do believe that we need a systemic review of the financial regulations. I've been listening to a lot of this on C-SPAN and things like that. I don't think they're quite getting to it. I think they have to go down to what is inhibiting the medium to low income types from coming back onto the capital markets and borrowing and starting a baker's shop or a small factory and so forth. Right. What is holding them back? I mean, I think one of the things is the draconian approach used by these rating agencies that basically are blowing these people out of the tub in terms of being able to get these loans. So they need to look at everything.
Right.
But yet, again, I want to say it and emphasize it, we bailed out the big financial institutions and other the autos, but we're not bailing out the small to middle class that drive this economy, that make this machine work.
Well, I don't think they're bailing out Main Street, the
That's what I'm saying.
person.
You were using a different word. Main Street's a better word. Yes, exactly. And I take that. That's a much better word. Yes, we're not bailing out Main Street. We're not seeing what's inhibiting Main Street from re-entering the game.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Main Street wants to enter the game, but they can't because, as I said, they're being punished.
Right.
Where the big guys weren't punished, but they're being punished by the permissiveness of the earlier regulations or lack of regulations that allowed them to make these type investments. Now, I'm not saying they should have made them.
Right.
But I'm saying that you have to have some balance here. Exactly.
Well, the reason why, this is an important discussion is because I remember the first time we talked about, you were in my show, and we talked about the bailout that was being proposed then. That's back in, February, right?
Yes.
Almost a year.
I think it was in this, yes, it was.
Right.
About a year ago, exactly.
Exactly. And we're being very hopeful, and I remember the discussion, you talking about the FDR model and that this President Obama was in a hurry to get Congress to pass a stimulus package to jolt the economy. Well, where's the jolt? I mean, the money is running the banks. Okay, the banks are doing great. Goldman Sachs is making incredible profits that they're handing out billions of dollars of bonuses, and then you have Citigroup, you have Bank of America, you have Wells Fargo's, all of those people. And but then from the standpoint of the day-to-day, the everyday person, every single person I know knows somebody who's looking for work.
Well, we just talked to a colleague of ours that found out he wouldn't be back.
Exactly.
And this is happening all over the country. In fact, they estimate that the real unemployment level in the United States is 17.4%. Those that are signed up for unemployment, those that have given up, and so forth. So we need to get these people working again.
I think realistically it's even more than that, because there's a lot of people who've just stopped looking for work. And and there's people who are just like taking any part-time jobs available. So what happens is it's a vicious cycle, because you have somebody who lose their jobs, they have good credit, and then they're in the market,
and then their credit's gone,
and their credit is
gone,
what
I'm talking
and
about.
the property is gone, and so forth, and it's sad because I've never in my lifetime have seen this.
I've never seen it printed. Yes, no.
You know,
Although I lived through the depression, part of the depression, it was pretty bad.
well, I mean, at least, I mean, in this particular situation, you know, the government is saying one thing, and I think the problem is we have a restructuring of classes, a class economy in the U.S. We have people who are doing great,
Yes.
and then we have the average person. I mean, basically just struggling. I mean, not being able to make ends meet. I know lawyers, JD graduates, who are like in the unemployment line have been in the unemployment line and are looking at homeless shelters. That's pretty sad.
It is, and I think my feeling is it comes that the financial intermediary markets was so permissive, and people believed that what was going on was regulated, where it wasn't really regulated. People were asleep at the wheel. We talked about the fact that the CEOs of many companies did not know that their analysts were selling trillions, or not trillions, billions of these commodity, there's bets on the
Derivatives, yeah, right.
Yeah, but there has.
Well, I mean, do you think? And then I know you want to talk about the water situation.
No. I think this is more important.
Oh, good. Okay.
But they were issuing these bets, and these bets were backed by nothing but the assets of the firm. And so they issued the bets. It was like us going to a 49er game. If I took more bets against the Niners and they won, and I couldn't pay up, well, I run out of town. But in our system, the federal government comes and bails you out. But it doesn't bail out the people who've put up their money and don't have it anymore and that have bad credit.
But our government pay the insurance on those derivatives. That's part of the TARP.
They have
That's
to pay
part.
it back, yeah. They're supposed
But
to
they
pay
pay
it back.
them instead of negotiating because remember we said that those insurance
Credit
are just
default swaps.
exactly.
Yeah.
But our government with the TARP money paid them on dollar per dollar instead of saying, look, this is bogus. This insurance is nothing because you're insuring something that does not exist except thin air.
Well, they didn't have any backup for the insurance.
There's no collateral.
And it was the Commodities Modernization Act of 2000. It sneaked through. It was the last act of the Congress and the last act of Bill Clinton, and bingo, it sneaked through like that, and it basically deregulated this type market and allowed back into the financial arena bucket shops, which were outlawed in 1907.
Exactly.
And that led to the creation of the Federal Reserve System. And these bucket shops, they're nothing more than bookmakers. Buying and selling. And they were not regulated to any degree that was noticeable.
Right.
So that the economy just had all these things going on. And the Federal Reserve was supposed to be overseeing this in large, not in total, but in large. So was the Treasury. But what happened? So now we are trying to amend all these things, but we're bringing back the same people that were involved in the problem, that created the problem, as the solution. And that's a concern.
Isn't Department of Treasury Secretary, isn't Timothy Geithner the former Federal Reserve Chair of New York?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
But he wouldn't have been, well, that's probably the most important of the district banks. But I don't want to critique Geithner too much because I think the Treasury, I think the Federal Reserve is the most, where we should be paying our attention. The permissiveness of the Greenspan era in allowing these sort of I'm not for regulations, but I think that if you're going to, you have to make it known what you're regulating, what you are not regulating. Information has to be transmitted from the policymakers to those that are being impacted, and that's you and me and all the people that got involved in this.